So this is our Ask Me Anything with ask a team sales expert anything. And as Scott was just pointing out, Dale's hair is on point as well. So could we ask a real estate agent with great hair anything?
Yes, except for how I got great hair. That is a trade secret.
All right. So let's first define what a team sales expert is, Dale. Like, how long have you been doing this? What are team sales and what makes you a team sales expert?
Yeah, so I started selling real estate in 2008 when I moved over from mortgages. And I think we all know what happened in 2008. So struggled my way through that and then went on to build real estate teams and specifically inside sales departments within those teams. And now for the last 6 years, my coaching and training company has been helping other teams scale and optimize their sales efforts. So really what it is we specialize in optimizing and training agents and ISAs. So that's what we're talking about today, is the depth of experience of working with teams across the country, across North America, in getting their stuff sorted out so that they can, increase their profits and decrease their headaches, ideally.
I love it. All right. Well, we've got a few questions submitted by other agents beforehand, but we also have some audience here live. So guys, the reason we do these Ask Me Anythings, because this is not a podcast. Like, Dale has plenty of trainings. And if no one asks him any questions, he could just literally go talk, right? For the next 30 minutes, he could talk about how to identify, sales talent among agents, how to attract talent, how to top grade your existing team. Like, he could just rattle off stuff, but I want to make sure we focus this on, this is the AMAs, the Ask Me Anything is truly like, if you're running sales teams or you're, trying to figure out how to scale a sales team, I want to be able to answer any questions you guys have. So right off the bat, does anyone who's here live with us have any questions they want to ask Dale? So I'll let you guys start. Otherwise, I got a couple pre-submitted questions. Go ahead, Shelby.
Hi, Dale. I'm curious, when you select your team, are you looking at your strong suits and your weak suits and trying to fill in? What's your motivation for picking teammates?
Well, are we talking about salespeople? Okay. Yeah. For salespeople, no. What we're looking for is, do they have, what type of salesperson are they? Because they only come in a couple different flavors, right? And, your ability to lead different personality types really is a growth point for a leader themselves. And so when you ask, do you pick your salespeople for your strong suits? I would say if you have some weaknesses, or if you have some known weaknesses that you don't think you could bolster or grow in, then yes. So for instance, if you're the kind of team leader who has zero consistency and you're not very good at laying things out for people or explaining them, and you just expect your salespeople to go out and kill it and bring back fresh meat without a lot of guidance or a lot of support, then you're going to need to only recruit killers, right? Or if you're not a very strong salesperson yourself, but you're very operationally oriented, then you're probably going to have to leave some of the big personality killers alone and go after a little more operationally oriented people, right? So I would say yes in that respect, but what I'd say is that it's a growth point. And if you find people that you have difficulty managing or supporting, that's a growth area for you as a leader. And then once you get to that point, you can better support the salespeople. And really then you can say, all right, great. Let me go find somebody who's a good salesperson currently, or who has a developable baseline skill or aptitude for sales that I can then grow. And I don't care what flavor they are, because I know that I can support them.
Great answer, Dale. Go ahead, Shelby. Did you have a follow-up, Shelby?
I was just going to thank him for his answer. That's what I was looking for.
And then also, let me add to that. If you look across your agents and they're failing, if you see one or more that are failing, that aren't selling, that aren't performing, then I'd want you have two questions that you have to ask yourself. One, should this person be in this business in the first place? And two, can I truthfully say to myself that I've done everything possible to educate them and lead them and support them in developing their sales skill in the way that they need to develop it? right? So those are really just the two decision points. And a lot of times, I'm just ad-libbing a lot here. Sorry, Jesse. In working with a lot of clients, the two big difficulties that I've run into many times over is, one, we've taken on people that shouldn't have been hired or shouldn't be in a sales role, or two, we haven't supported them in the way that they needed to be supported. Those are the two big factors that I see are difficult, that team leaders, broker owners run into frequently. And so if you can fix the fact, I don't know where you're at, Shelby, or what struggles you have, but wherever you're at, if you have failing salespeople, they either need better, more targeted support consistently, or they need to be invited to find something that is going to work better for them.
Can we dig into that for a minute? And don't be sorry, Dale. The reason we're doing this is why we do it live. I want to talk about whatever people want to know. That was one of the questions that you just actually touched on a little of the answer that Matthew had submitted before. And his question was, how do you identify agents that are burnt out, right? And what do you do to get them motivated again? So I think you just hit that a little bit. Can you expand on that? When you say targeted support, like what do you mean by that? Can you give me some examples or go a little deeper?
Yeah, certainly. So when I say targeted support, do they need more consistent accountability? Do they need some tough love? Do they need better or more tailored sales methodologies for themselves? Because not every type of selling or every method of generating business works for every type of salesperson. So do they need that stuff? Do they need more guidance? Do they need more encouragement? Do they need more support? What do they need? And have I provided that to them as their leader? Have I provided that to them consistently? And I like to joke that we're really running daycares in a lot of cases, right? Because the people who aren't in daycare are business owners like ourselves. Pretty much a lot of the other people fall into some genre of daycare, and you are there to change the diapers over and over again, unfortunately.
That is absolutely a quote we're going to pull out, by the way. I love that. I mean, and I know you mean that in the nicest way possible, but it's kind of funny.
And Jesse, let me say, when I say daycare, here's what I mean, guys. What I mean is you can't have a bunch of kindergartners where you give your instruction to them one time, or you give your support to them one time, right? Or you give really complicated processes to one time. It doesn't work that way, right? If you're running a daycare, if you're running a kindergarten, you've got to support. You have to say the same dumb thing multiple times with a smile on your face, and you have to help them get to where they're trying to go. And you have to do it repetitively, unfortunately.
And it's not because they're bad people. It's because they're focused on other priorities. They're not focused on, when you say they'd be running, this is because I ran a team for a long time too. What I hear you saying is it's like, if they were focused on systems and duplicatable procedures, they'd be outrunning their own team. And anytime I've had an agent on my team who likes, right. And so they're focused on connecting with clients, doing what they love doing, but not necessarily the big picture, which is why you're running the team, and and team agents have their team function as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dale, did you have a question, by the way? I don't know if you're jumping in for a sec. Did you have a question, Dale?
Me? Oh, other Dale. No,
sorry, there's two Dales here. Dale K, I saw you jump in for a sec. No? Nothing?
No.
Okay, cool. All right. Anybody else? I've got a list of questions submitted. Anyone's got a question that they want to roll to here? I like making sure that you guys get on live. I want to reward you and say thank you for showing up live. Anyone else got questions they want to ask Dale? Dale Archdekin? All right, so I'm going to go to my list of questions then. And Dale K, I'm going to mute you out for a minute just from background sound. So another question submitted. This is from Allison. She was asking, how much time do you spend with each agent on your team on either a weekly, daily, monthly basis? Do you even track it like that? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so depends on the size of your team. Ideally, if you are the one who is the sales manager and the team leader, then you're going to want to be able to spend a little bit of one-on-one time each week with your salespeople if you only have a few salespeople. If you're at 20, 30, 40 agents, then you're going to spend one-on-one time with them either once or twice a month, really. And most of it's going to be done inside sales meetings. So at that point, you have to have really structured sales meetings. so that you can get through the important stuff. And then once or twice a month, you one-on-one with each of those salespeople, just to make sure that they're on track for their own personal goals and to see what they have in the way. If you have an underperformer, it's helping them get their performance up. If you have a middle of the road or top performer, really all you're doing is looking to see, what can I do to support you? What do you need currently? And then especially with your top performers, the ones where it would really hurt if they left, you're just constantly looking to, how can I give you the Disney experience, right? How can I make it so painful for you to go and do anything else, anywhere else? How can I make it something where you literally would have to feel like a bad person for breaking up with us? How could I take it to that level?
What are some of the things you do around that?
Well, moving much more, really moving the company. And again, this is if they're good culture fits, not if they are culture drain. So not if they are, not if they're a prima donna that sucks all the air out of the room, but if they're good, solid salespeople that really don't take much from the company unless they need something, then you're just constantly looking to, how do I pad this more for you, right? How do I add more services? How do I add more support? How do I figure out what you don't like doing and find somebody I can pay to do it for you at a high level? And also, it depends on their personality. Some top salespeople are just like, leave me alone, let me do my stuff. Don't make me come to time-wasting meetings, right? And I just want you signing checks. Hey, fantastic. Let's do that. Let me give you more leads. Oh, you don't have time to call the leads? I'm going to get somebody to call the leads for you, right? Or then you have those salespeople who need something else, right? They get to the point where sales is easy. That's a no-brainer. And they aren't super motivated by the money, or they've hit their money set point. That's when you have to give them something that's like a personal growth point for themselves. How can they invest in others? How can they help grow the team? How can they build a team under themselves? Something that you can figure out financially. How do you continue to raise the ceiling so that they can continue to grow as people, so they don't get bored?
Just making sense, guys? Yeah. So here's a question, Dale, because I have a guess. You are fairly analytical, but I actually don't know. And yeah, he's nodding his head. Yes. So I know some team leaders are analytical, some are not. Henry asked the question was, what data is the most invaluable to track? And he put in parentheses, outside of production numbers, right? Assuming production numbers are important to track, and maybe they're not even important. What do you track, and how do you give guidance to a team leader who maybe they're analytical, maybe they're not, right? What would you say?
We make it really simple. We track 4 metrics in my training company: contacts made, appointments set, appointments met, contracts signed. And if you can track those 4 metrics for any salesperson on your team, and in fact, if you have newer agents that you bring on or new salespeople, that has to be a mandatory thing. Those are the precursor numbers. I could almost say that if you track those and you held them consistently, those 4 things, you're going to end up with deals on the back. You can almost stop tracking closings because you're going to end up with business. A lot of the clients that we work with don't track anything. Or if they do, they don't do it consistently, or they don't hold their agents accountable. And accountability is a whole other can of worms, because I've worked with companies where they have extremely high accountability, where every salesperson has to come to a series of meetings, has to achieve all these benchmarks, has to report all their data on a consistent basis. I've seen teams that are very successful and profitable who do that. And I've seen teams who are unprofitable and can't keep people around who do that. I've also, on the other end, seen teams that have zero accountability. Nobody has to do anything or report anything to anybody. And I've seen very successful, profitable companies that do it that way, as well as unsuccessful, unprofitable companies that do it that way. So the accountability thing is a very complicated question. And I think that, back to Shelby, I think the accountability and how it gets applied and used within a company, within the typical size of companies that we deal with, is something that is much more dependent on the team leader or company owner.
Can you repeat those 4 real quick for me, Dale?
Sure. Contacts made. And I'll just explain contacts. That means a voice to voice, text to text, email to email, DM to DM, face to face connection. Any of those, right? It's a connection with a consumer about real estate. Those are contacts made, appointments set. So brand new buyer appointment, first time meeting with a buyer, first time showing, first time listing appointment, a set, those appointments met, and then contract signed. And when we say contract, that would be buyer broker relationship agreement signed, listing agreement signed, or even offer written, offer accepted.
So these are ISAs that are licensed agents that you have brought onto a team, not like ISAs that are outside of actual real estate agents, right?
So I'm talking mostly about real estate agents right now, but ISAs as well. And so in my company, we only deal with, it looks like you're an inside sales provider. So within my company, when we're helping people, we help them hire ISAs in their local market. So when it's, when we have had clients in the past that have used a third party ISA company and they can't really have they don't really have a lot of accountability. Like the company manages the accountability.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why I started a company too. But I was just curious because I also help people. I'm at this point in our business where we're like, we've been around for almost a year now. We grew really fast and I make the calls myself. So then I trained other people to make the calls who have real estate experience, who are in the United States. And I felt like that was like really different from a lot of other ISA companies. But it's also very difficult to find people with real estate experience and then, and then just kind of motivate and keep them on that track. So I was starting to go more down the placement route, like where we actually like train, like what you were saying, how you help people find ISAs that are in their local market, because that's kind of the route that I think we might end up going. So I was just curious about where you were finding these people and what you were doing.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. This might sound funny to you. In my experience of hiring and managing my own ISAs, as well as helping clients, we scrutinize people with a real estate license and experience even harder than people with no real estate license or experience. And it comes down to this. And I ask these people in the interview, I say, please tell me why I'm going to pay you a salary to now do what to do for 8 hours a day, what if you had done for yourself, you wouldn't be asking me for a job. And in fact, you'd be making 4 to 5 times what I'm offering to pay you for doing this. And generally the answer is not great. So that's why we have a tendency not to hire people with real estate licenses or experience as ISAs, because ISAs are their own unique breed of creature that had they stumbled upon a real estate license, earlier, they would have already been beasts.
Yeah. Or they hated it like I did.
Yeah. Or they hated it. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just like these questions, Dale. It's such a brilliant question to ask someone who's already got a real estate license. All right. I've still, guys, got a longer list of questions, but anyone else who's here, you guys got questions you want to ask Dale live? We've got about 10 minutes left on this Ask Me Anything. I love being able to just dive into the mind of Dale. Who else has questions for Dale?
Jesse.
If not, I'm going back to my list of questions.
Are you any EXP, Dale, or any real estate? You're just doing your own company, right?
I am with EXP. I am a licensed real estate agent. I've sold and managed. And so basically at this point, Scott, I've been in the real estate industry without going and showing houses or taking listings since about 2013. So I've been leveraged since 2013.
Well, I gotta tell 2027 maybe.
He's a wealth of knowledge. All right, I got another question for you. As your teams start to grow in size, do you recommend like a mentor-mentee relationship within the team? Does the team leader, what sort of structure do you leverage when it comes to that, or even for smaller teams?
Yes, absolutely. Mentor-mentee. That's one of those opportunities to help keep some of your top producers, is to offer them the opportunity to do that mentor-mentee relationship within your company. And again, depending on where you're at. It's never something that you would force onto any of the sales team members. If you have a very high degree of training, if you have a decent amount of accountability, and you have the kind of people that would reflect your values, that would reflect the way you want your company to run, then absolutely invite them to be a mentor or mentee. If you don't have that, depending on where you're at, then I would honestly hire a sales manager who you can vet for their methodologies, and you can pay them to deliver the training and the accountability that you're looking to impart to your people. So mentor, mentee, yes, if you have those kind of people on your team. You might have just a bunch of hunter killers who don't want to, wet nurse a bunch of salespeople, and they just want to go out and do what they do, right? Or you might have one or two nurturers within your team, then make that offer to them. Absolutely. And in fact, you know what's crazy is some of the best salespeople that I've ever worked for can't teach for shit, right? Whereas some of the mediocre salespeople or okay salespeople are actually really good teachers, and they can teach other people how to do it. So you really just have to look into who do you have, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and can I use them in that capacity? Connie, sorry, the question went away. Do you want to read that, Jesse?
Sure. Where's the question? There we go. Do you require role playing, listing presentation practice, etc.? What's your structure?
Yes, absolutely. We require those things. One, if you are receiving the lead or the appointment from us, it's required. If you are a newer agent, it's required. If you're somebody that is already productive, so if that salesperson is already above average for agents in the market in terms of units per year, then no, it wouldn't be required. It would be offered, right? It would be, hey, would you like to practice this? Would you like to demonstrate this? I'm more than happy to give you feedback. But my general rule for producers is they take what they want and they leave the rest. For under producers, they do what we tell them to do.
That was applause, silent applause, Zoom applause from Connie, by the way, in case you didn't see the gesture.
Silent applause. Thank you, Connie.
Yeah. So we got 5 minutes. I want to dive into accountability. Can we? Because the things you're laying out when you describe them, when you listen to Dale describe it in his very just like calm voice, it sounds so easy. Raise your hand if you're like, yeah, it sounds so easy when he talks about it. But then in real life, you start to do, and you're like, none of my people want to role play, and you're like, maybe like I don't have good boundaries. Maybe that's my problem as a parent too. I don't know. Anyway, how do you balance that in terms of like, yeah, with the culture of your team, authoritarian, is it just a bottom line? This is it. Or if you're not doing it, you're out. How do you handle your accountability in your world?
Let's say this, because I know I'm talking to lots of different people with different kinds of companies and different structures. So I would say this, the way that I navigate things is starting from production. Are you selling houses or are you not selling houses? If you are generating checks, then I'm much more lenient on what you have to do or when you have to do it or how you do it, right? Now, if you aren't producing checks, selling houses, now we're going to have a different conversation about what you have to do and what I'm going to require you to do. And if I have somebody on my team who, let's say that when I describe these things, they are a culture fit, or at least they're not a negative culture drain. You guys know what I mean by that, right? They aren't backstabbers. They aren't negative. They aren't bringing other people down. They aren't wasting our meetings complaining about why the world isn't giving them real estate sales. Let's assume that we're not talking about any of those people. Let's say that they're a culture fit. They don't feel comfortable role playing, but they aren't setting appointments, or they aren't setting very many, and they're having difficulty selling real estate, right? Getting deals together. A big part of what we do as their leader, as their sales manager, we have to help these people achieve their goal. Theoretically, their goal is to make money by selling houses. If we continue to let them not sell houses and not make money, we are failing. And so we either need to find a way that we can help them get to the point where they're going to be selling houses. In a lot of cases, that might be role playing or practicing what to say and how to say it. and how to ask for those appointments and how to ask for those contracts and how to overcome the objections that happen when they get to that point. We have to do that. We have to find a way to do that with them, even if it's uncomfortable for them. So that's what we do. And again, I just base everything on production. Are you producing or are you not? And it's my responsibility to help you produce to achieve your goals. Or that's not your goal, and we should have a conversation about that. If your goal is to test out being an admin and be an amazing admin, let's do that. If your goal is to put lock boxes on houses and drive around, if your goal is to simply open a door and not have much of not have to obtain the lead, we have lots of other roles for you.
I have another
Sarah,
question.
go ahead.
Okay. So let's say that your agents have 100 leads, and how many of those would you expect to turn into appointments, like for your own team, for your people?
Yeah. So full disclosure, I don't currently run a team.
Okay.
We have hundreds of clients within my coaching and training company who have all sorts of different sizes of teams. And so the issue with 100 leads is that 100 leads comes from all different places. They have different conversion rates, right? So if it was an average lead mix, let's say some internet PPC, maybe some social media, a couple portal leads, right? Just your average mix out of 100 leads, then I would expect that at some point, let's say that well, again, it's hard to do the math for you. Let's just say 10%. Okay, let's use the round number, right?
Yeah.
Percent. At some point are going to close if we can get there. And that would be really good. That would be a really high quality lead mix. If you're just buying a bunch of social media leads, that is in the, 0.0 something range. So it really depends. Let me ask you a question so that I can actually give you some value, Sarah. Okay. What is it that you're looking to solve for when you ask me how many out of 100 should close?
I guess I'm trying to gauge what the average ISA company could close in the current market and how many appointments they're setting, because I'm not seeing everybody else's, right? Like I just see what my company does. And then sometimes you have clients that aren't very responsive to you about how many closings they've had, but you know that they are closing deals. So, but they're super busy, right? So I'm like just trying to gauge, obviously there's always room for improvement, but I'm just trying to gauge where other people are at, I guess. Got
it. Okay. It's all over the board, Sarah, and it's so dependent on your client. So this is advice I wanted to give you when I saw that you were a done for you ISA service. Be very, very selective about the clients that you take on.
Oh, that was the first thing I learned. Huge. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. There's a very, very long line of money waiting to pay you for the magic beans that they think you have. And so if you only take on those clients that have high quality leads, which would be portal leads, or they're doing their own advertising, billboards, radio, direct mail, right? And maybe they have some PPC, but that's about it. It has to have some high quality lead mix to it. They have to have accountability for their salespeople, and their sales team has to be made up of, when we talk about the 80-20 rule, it has to be 80% producers, 20% middle to low producers, rather than the alternative, which usually happens, which is 20% producers, 80% middle to low producers. So when you consider a client, I would make them apply, and I would make them, you need to run through their their agent roster and give you their agent's production for the last 12 months.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. I haven't thought of that. I just asked their overall closing ratio, but each agent, because that is something I've run into recently. Actually, lazy agents is a real problem.
Yeah. They're 50% of the problem. You can be an amazing ISA and nothing will happen if the agent doesn't go and close the business.
Speaking my language. Thank you.
Yes, been there.
Guys, before we wrap up, because we're at the bottom of the hour, I do want to plug, I get $0. There's no affiliate, there's nothing. I just love Dale and what he teaches. So he's referenced his company a few times. I want you to know what it is. And he's also been on, if you go to theagentcollective.com, we have so much content with Dale. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's got so much content out there. But your company, have you rebranded, or is it still called smartinsidesales.com?
So we still have that URL, smartinsidesales.com. So Smart Inside Sales is one portion of what we do. So we're Smart Sales Coaching, right?
Okay.
Under that.
So it's now smartsalescoaching.com.
Yep. Smartsalescoaching.com.
Like if you guys hire ISAs from any of the from a number of the overseas portals, the training program the overseas ISAs have been put through is Dale's training university. I don't know if you know that, Dale, but your portal is used by a lot of the large platforms out there.
And I don't talk about that, Jesse, because the overseas ISA companies oftentimes don't produce the results their clients think they're going to. And so I don't talk about the fact that they use our training, unfortunately.
And I get that because you can't control the end result. What I'm saying is like, it's like the basis, the foundation on our industry. If you're looking for like, what do you like, his is the starting point. You put better quality things in, you're going to get better results, obviously.
Thank
Same
you.
thing with quality.
And I truly appreciate the plug.
Yeah. And if I shouldn't have said that, now I know for next time, don't connect you up with overseas ISAs.
Yeah. I have a tendency not to highlight that fact, but
anyway, guys, did you learn something from today? Everybody get something good out of this? All right, hit him up. He's on every social platform, whatever you can do. He truly is one of the nicest people I've met in this industry. And Dale, I just appreciate your time.
Thank you. Oh, we have a webinar next week, Jesse, that we're doing with your company.
Do we have another one next week?
Yeah, we have a webinar next week.
Fantastic. Let's get the time and day for that. So when is that one? That's going to be it's on January 24th at 12 o'clock on the West Coast time. So that's 3 o'clock East Coast. Tuesday, January 24th, we'll be sending out an email to our crew. It's Winter Blues, where and how to get business in a shifting market. That one's going to be more of, that's less like Q&A. That's more of like you have a presentation, correct? We're going to be diving into it.
It's going to be a webinar where I'm shouting at the camera.
I love when Dale shouts because he's not a big shouter. So that'll be fun. All right. Mark your calendar, guys. Next Tuesday, 12 o'clock West Coast, 3 o'clock. Tell your friends from the Agent Collective crew. We're all going to be there. All right.
Thanks, guys.
What's the link we should use for that?
Good question. It looks like that one is on the same link as this one. No, I don't even see a link on this one. What link is that one on?
That's going to be Zoom. And I believe you guys are going to be sending that out via email.
Okay.
I don't know. Scott, if I had it handy, I'd shoot it over to you.
Yeah, it's not in the calendar invite I have, Scott. So I will find it. We'll make sure it's emailed out multiple times to you guys.
Thanks.
I'll make sure they send it out, Scott.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.